So I did a video talking earlier about this move, the trade between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Washington Redskins, without all the information, but now we do have all the information about the trade. Also keep in mind I do have a flu, I have a fever, I've been sneezing and coughing all day, so if I sneeze or cough at all during this video I do apologize, but there was a trade between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Washington Redskins. In that trade, the Kansas City Chiefs are sending Alex Smith to the Washington Redskins for Kendall Fuller and a 3rd round pick in this upcoming year's draft. Now, there's a lot of different paths that come out of this. A lot of different things happen because of this trade. So let's look at the Kansas City Chiefs first. You get a 3rd round pick in 2018, which I feel is pretty important because you don't have a first this year. You used it in your package whenever you got Patrick Mahomes, which we'll get to that. But you have a 3rd in 2018 now. That's good. Maybe you draft some defensive linemen, some linebackers, because they are getting old, let's be honest. But, probably expect that pick at least to be used on like a defensive player or an offensive lineman, or maybe even some offensive weaponry for Patrick Mahomes. He's the guy now, he's the guy for Kansas City. He's going to be the guy who's, he's their starter, so you're probably going to want to build around him. You have Tyreek Hill, you have Kareem Hunt. Those are your 2 guys. So I think you build around those 3. Oh, and you have Travis Kelce. What am I saying? You have those 4 guys. I think you can build around them. Maybe spend that pick on some offensive linemen. Maybe spend that pick on a defensive end or defensive tackle or something, or a linebacker. Probably a 3-4 pass rushing linebacker would be nice. They're getting old at the linebacker position, so they could go there, And Kendall Fuller, that's great. That's great. This trade would have made, if it was like Kendall Fuller for Alex Smith straight up, this trade would have made more sense. But if you throw in a 3rd round pick, the Chiefs got a really good deal because Kendall Fuller's a number 1. Sorry, Kendall Fuller is a number 1 on a lot of teams. He would have been the number 1 on the Redskins if Josh Norman wasn't there and just automatically the number 1. Kendall Fuller's a really, really, really talented young cornerback. And whenever you take him and Marcus Peters and combine them, it's pretty good. They're probably going to have one of the best cornerback duos in the league, in my opinion. In my opinion, it's probably going to end up being the best, maybe besides the Jaguars. They're probably not as good as the Jaguars, but top 5 at least. I'd even say top 3. Marcus Peters is really good, and Kendall Fuller's right up there, and you got both of them, and they're still on the rookie contracts, so you can't beat that, man. That's just good. And you move on from Alex Smith. That sucks, but you also opened up $17 million in cap space. That's huge. You have $17 million to work with now. You have Kareem Hunt, who's still on his rookie contract. I believe you still have Tyreek Hill on contract. You do have Spencer Ware with an expiring contract and Sharkandrick West, but those 2 probably aren't going to re-sign. Maybe Sharkandrick West. Maybe Spencer Ware re-signs for cheap money. I don't know. But I say you take that $17 million, you maybe beef up the offensive line a little bit more. Maybe you beef up the linebackers and the defensive line. The Chiefs are in a really good position, man, to really become a stacked team. The only way I don't see this trade working out, like I said, is if Patrick Mahomes flops. He's a former 1st round pick. He is probably the best quarterback in this past draft. And that'll be really interesting to see. The dude's got a cannon of an arm. He's throwing at Tyreek Hill. That's good. Tyreek Hill's a streaker, so you can throw it right to Tyreek Hill. If you can do that, you're pretty much solid. If Alex Smith could do it, then so can Patrick Mahomes. But I really like the trade for the Kansas City Chiefs. I thought that they got some really, really good value for a guy who only had 1 year left on his deal anyway. And I think that they're set up for a good amount of time. Now let's move on to the Washington Redskins. Now, this is where it gets bad. I don't disagree with the Redskins making this move. Excuse me. You didn't want to pay Kirk Cousins. That's fine. Kirk Cousins was probably going to command more than the $24-25 million that his franchise tag was worth anyway. He's probably going to end up he's probably going to end up being one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the league. But at the time of the trade, now that the trade's been done, it's also been reported that the Redskins have signed Alex Smith to a a 4-year extension, $23.5 million a year, $70 million of it guaranteed. Now, I talked in the video I did before that's not going up, because I made a whole separate video talking about it before I got the details. But in the separate video, I talked about how if you have Alex Smith isn't bad. You can have Alex Smith for another 4 or 5 years. He can play till he's 37, and I think he'll still be a good starter until he's 37. I think he's he can do that. You know, I think he's that efficient, and I think he's that. He's not just a game manager, in my opinion. Well, I do say he's a game manager, but he's a really good game manager in my mind, and I think he can play till he's almost 40. And the Redskins proved my point. They just announced that, oh yeah, we're signing him to an extension. So there's your, I guess it's not long term, but at least mid-ish term solution at quarterback. You know, next 4 or 5 years you have Alex Smith. That's not bad under any circumstances. What a lot of people have been giving it flack for is saying, well, $23.5 million a year, that's not that much more than probably what Kirk Cousins is going to command. But what that tells me is that Kirk Cousins was commanding a lot more than $23.5 million a year. Because a lot of people are saying, like, oh, Kirk Cousins, he only wanted like $25 million a year. You know, why didn't you just give him that extra couple of million? Well, that's obviously not the case then, considering if Kirk Cousins and Alex Smith, I'd probably say Kirk Cousins is the better quarterback, but he obviously wanted more than what they're paying Alex Smith, because if he wanted the money that Alex Smith just got, 23.5 a year, the Redskins would have paid it. You know, they really like Kirk Cousins. They wanted to keep him. They obviously franchise tagged him, so they wanted to keep him. It just didn't work out, and you know, I don't hate the move for the Chiefs or for the Redskins. You needed a quarterback. It was obvious that you weren't going to pay Kirk Cousins the kind of money that he wanted, which he probably wants, I don't know, $30 million. That's a bit much, but he's going to want a lot of money. I mean, it'll be interesting to see the kind of deal Kirk Cousins gets, but we'll get to that. But I mean, now you kind of have a 4 or 5 year plan at quarterback with Alex Smith. I think that's a pretty solid option to keep rolling with for the next 5 years. Again, top 15 quarterback is Alex Smith. I like him a lot. And you can build around Alex Smith. Alex Smith and Kirk Cousins are kind of the same type of quarterback. I do believe they both run a West Coast style offense, so you're not really going from talent wise, it's not that much different in my opinion, and you're probably getting a cheaper deal for just kind of the same type of for less money. You're getting the same type of talent for less money. So I don't hate the deal for the Redskins. I really do think that they might have jumped the gun here. Obviously, no deal can be done until March 15th of the new league year. But I mean, you get Alex Smith, you give up a starting corner, and you give up a 3rd round pick. I think they'll be fine at corner, honestly. You just lost a big piece in Kendall Fuller, and you give up a 3rd round pick. But I mean, I don't know. Like, Alex Smith is pretty good. I think there won't be that much change, honestly, in terms of talent-wise. I know you may be saying, it's like, well, if there wasn't that much change of talent-wise, why didn't they just sign Kirk Cousins? I guess Kirk Cousins must want a lot of money, and they feel we can't give him that much money. We need to do other stuff, you know? That's the only way I can think of it. You know, the Redskins must have thought, okay, Kirk wants a lot more than what we're willing to pay him, you know. They were probably offering the deal that they just gave Alex Smith, you know, 23.5, which isn't bad at all. And Kirk Cousins probably said, nah, man, I want a lot more. And Redskins are saying, dude, we can't give you like 6.5 million more a year. We need to use that money to, you know, different parts of the team, I guess. But I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how much money Kirk Cousins gets, and then we'll have a more clear situation about that. But you know, you didn't re-sign Kirk Cousins, Redskins. You know, you kind of talks fell through, whatever happened to him. But I mean, I feel like you got a suitable, pretty much almost an older version of Kirk Cousins in my mind. I think they're both top 15 quarterbacks. I do think Kirk is a little bit better, but I mean, I think Kirk's better. But I do feel that the Redskins could have done worse. You know, they could have done worse, and they've got a solid quarterback option now for 4 or 5 years, which is what they wanted. So they got what they wanted, and I don't really know if, like, I don't really know if Kirk was just shut down and said, like, I'm not going to accept any contract you give me. I want to get out of Washington. We don't know. Kirk Cousins could have said, like, I don't want to accept any type of, I'm not going to accept any type of deal no matter how much money you give me. If that's the case, then, you know, boom. You know, yeah, that had to be done then. That might have been actually what happened. You know, we don't know. But what does this mean for Kirk Cousins? Kirk Cousins is going to get paid. That's what that means. You have the Jets, you have the Bills, you have, not the Colts, you have maybe the Jaguars, maybe the Vikings, you have the Browns. You have a lot of teams that need a quarterback. Maybe even the Saints, if they decide not to roll with Drew Brees. So what does this mean for Kirk Cousins? That means Kirk Cousins is going to get paid, and it'll be very interesting to see. He might end up being the highest paid quarterback in the league. And I don't think he deserves that. Top 15 talent, yeah. Kirk Cousins is pretty good. But, I don't know. He'll be a starter somewhere, and he's going to be a franchise guy. There's going to be a lot of bidding, because Kirk Cousins is a franchise guy. You can build your team around Kirk Cousins. But he's going to be getting a lot of money, and it'll be really interesting to see how much money he gets and what team he goes to. You know, if he goes to a team like the Jets, that won't be as exciting because they're in a rebuild mode. But if he goes to like kind of a playoff-ish ready team, like if he goes to the Minnesota Vikings or even the Denver Broncos, that'll be crazy. Like if he goes to the Vikings, then honestly the Vikings might win the Super Bowl next year. You know, if they can get that far to the NFC Championship game with Case Keenum, imagine what they can do with frickin' imagine what they can do with Kirk Cousins. You know, it'll be very interesting to see what team Kirk Cousins goes to. If I had to bet, though, I'd say he probably goes to the Browns. It makes the Browns a pretty good team, in my opinion. There's rumors going around that the Browns were going to even trade for Alex Smith and draft a quarterback at #1 overall, but now the plan might be sign Kirk Cousins and draft a quarterback #1 overall. It'll definitely be interesting. But let me know what you guys think about the trade down in the comment section below. Who do you think won? Who do you think lost? Who's the winners? Who's the losers? If you want my opinion, winners are Kirk Cousins and the Kansas City Chiefs, and I guess Alex Smith to a certain degree. And losers, Redskins maybe. Patrick Mahomes is a winner for sure. I don't know. Maybe the Redskins GM. I think he gave up a little bit too much. He probably did give up too much, actually. Kendall Fuller that's crazy. I didn't, like, geez. I honestly would have rather given up Josh Norman, if you ask me. But, let me know what you guys think about the trade down in the comments section below. I'd love to talk with you about it. As always, I hope you all enjoyed the video, and I'm sorry that I'm sick. I got the flu. I'll try and get better soon, guys. But as always, I'll see you in the next video. But until then, goodbye for now, guys.